If you've ever wished that you had 4 arms to help you install upper cabinets by yourself, then stick around and check out my cabinet brace jig that lets you do it with just 2. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of DP Shop Talk. Now today we're going to be taking a look at my shop-made cabinet brace jig that lets you hang upper cabinets by yourself. Now some of you guys requested this episode after I posted a short time-lapse video showing me installing a small kitchen on a recent renovation project that I did. So I built the jig about 5 years ago out of the need to be able to easily install upper cabinets by myself, since I usually work solo. So I'll quickly go through the design of the jig, how I made it, and then I'll explain how I use it. So the design of the jig is very basic. There's a bottom plate that sits on the lower cabinets and then a top plate that the upper cabinet sits on. There's 2 wing nuts which allow easy adjustability of the height. So it will adjust anywhere from 17 inches tall all the way up to 28 inches tall depending on what you're working on. Now I added in some triangular braces on the opposite sides from each other just to give some added strength and stability. So the 2 main components of the jig are pretty much identical to each other. So you have the top and bottom plate and the 2 vertical plates. So I started by cutting all the pieces to size, and then I drilled some pocket holes in one end of each of the vertical plates for attachment. And then I routed a 3/8 inch wide slot going up the center of both of the vertical plates so that those match up. Then as far as assembly, I glued and pocket hole screwed the 2 vertical plates to the top and bottom plate. Now, the alignment of those needs to be centered so that the inside face of the plates is centered on the width of the top and bottom plates. So basically, the line where these two vertical plates meet, that needs to be centered on both the bottom plate and the top plate as far as the width. And that makes sure that everything stays balanced and the center of gravity stays on center. And then finally, I installed these triangular corner braces, just glued and screwed those into place, and that just gives a little extra stability and strength to it. And then everything gets attached together with these 2 3/8 inch by 2 inch carriage bolts, along with washers and wing nuts. So I'll use a selection of still images from the photos that I took to make the time-lapse video to illustrate how I use the cabinet brace jig. And then I'll play the whole time-lapse through so you can see the entire process if you haven't seen that video already. So with all my studs marked out and a level line snapped for the bottom of my cabinets, I set the cabinet brace jig so that the top of it sits about 1/4 inch below the height that the bottom of the upper cabinets will sit at. I use a scrap piece of material to sit the cabinet brace jig on since the top of the lower cabinets are open. I sit 2 shims on top of the cabinet brace jig pointing in opposite directions, and these give me the ability to quickly and easily fine-tune the height of the cabinet once it's sitting on top. The shims are the reason that the jig is set 1/4 inch lower than my level line. Next, I attach as many cabinets together as is practical to lift as one unit. Attaching cabinets together like this both saves time and also makes it easier to spot inaccuracies in the wall surface and keep the cabinets running true. I clamp them together and then fasten them with screws. Once the cabinets are attached together, I get the cabinet brace jig as well as the cabinets into position for where they will be installed. Then I lift the cabinets up onto the jig and slide them back against the wall. At this point, I adjust the shims to get the bottom of the cabinets roughly lined up with my level line. I get the cabinets aligned side to side with my layout marks that I made earlier and then double check my measurements to confirm that the position is correct. Next, I measure along the bottom of the cabinets to locate where the studs are relative to the end gables and then transfer those marks inside the cabinets so that I know where my screw location should be. With the bottom of the cabinets aligned with my level line, I drive one screw to start anchoring the cabinets. I check for plumb and make any adjustments necessary, then drive another screw at the top of the cabinet. In this case, the part of the wall behind the first cabinet was plumb, so I didn't need any shims at the top. I double check for level along the front of the cabinets just to confirm that everything looks good. Next, I get the opposite side of the cabinet set plumb and shim as required. Then I drive the screws on that side and do one last check for level and plumb. At this point, the cabinet brace jig can come out and I drive any extra screws that I can into available studs. So now I'll play the time lapse through so you can see the whole process. So that's a quick look at how my cabinet brace jig works. Now, if you guys would like to see more cabinet installation related content, let me know in the comments below. Now, it's not always practical to make a how-to episode when I'm doing an install, since it's usually a pretty tight timeline to work with, but if a job comes along that allows for that, I could certainly make a how-to episode about cabinet installation if that's something that you guys are interested in. So I hope that you found this video helpful. If you have, don't forget to like, share, and hit that subscribe button. It's always very much appreciated when you do. So as always, make sure you leave your ideas, thoughts, and questions down in the comments below. So thanks for watching, and until next time, let's talk shop.